Lads, just quickly before today's match reaction, I would like to divert your attention briefly to a new channel or podcast on YouTube, which I am a part of. It is called The Irish Red Devils, and it covers all things Man United based, of course. We make 2 videos every single week, one of which reacts to the match which has just passed for Man United, and then the next comes out on Thursday. Then the first comes out on Monday, the next comes out on Thursday, previewing the next match then for the following week. We got on guest speakers for each video too, of course. As you can see already there, if you do go to the channel for the match reaction against Brighton, we had a Brighton fan from Australia on, and then for the match preview against Nottingham Forest, we had a Nottingham Forest fan on there as well. So I just wanted to divert your attention there, lads. Go over to that channel, watch the videos. They're pretty good videos too, of course, very insightful. Give it as much support as you can, as well as on this channel here. And as always, lads, on this channel, remember to subscribe if you're enjoying all my content. If you're new to the channel and if you haven't yet done so, like the video as we're ready to go along with it. Give me as much support as possible. Click the bell so you never miss out on one of my latest uploads, and as well as that, then share this to as many people as possible. It really help and push the algorithm, and do the exact same thing over at the Irish Red Devils channel as well. And so then, lads, getting into today's Man United match reaction. So then, full time from the City Ground, Nottingham Forest 2, Man United 2, of course. This is my match reaction, and obviously with a draw there, 2 points dropped on the road, not ideal, and our win streak does end. We did not get 4 wins in a row. The streak stops at 3 games in a row, and that does mean that the United Strand is going to have to wait a wee bit longer now to get his haircut. And so I tell you what, that's a result he's going to be fuming with. However, overall, am I happy with the draw after that performance especially? Yes, I thought overall, looking at the game as a whole, Forest being dangerous at times and all that as well, and United being poor as well for the most part too. Was I happy we managed to get something at least from that one? Yes, I was. Now, first half, first 30 minutes, nothing really happened. Both sides were sort of not playing too great. Then we went 1-0 up, of course, thanks to Casemiro getting 2 goals in 2 games. A brilliant header, I have to say. A brilliant corner overall there, of course. However, it was controversial. It wasn't actually a corner. The ball didn't actually go out of play. However, we still got a corner from it, and we still managed to score there, of course. So, from a Forest perspective, Forest were fuming after that. However, from a United perspective, I tell you what, lads, I was not complaining whatsoever. And even after that goal, I thought for the last 10 minutes of the first half there, I thought we were looking a bit better. We were looking a bit more energetic there at the end of the half. And so coming into the second half, I thought we were going to see United be a bit more energetic, a bit more like ourselves with the past number of games. Thought we could now kick on after that Casemiro goal, get a second goal, maybe kill the game off, put Forest to lead. However, that proved to be not the case, because Forest came out full throttle there in the second half, and within 2 minutes the scores went from 1-0 United to 2-1 to Forest. We saw ourselves within 2 minutes go from as high as second to as low as 7th in the table as well. So that was a 2-minute capitulation there really, which we just weren't good enough in defending. Of course, defensively terrible in those 2 minutes, and Forest all of a sudden had themselves in the 2-1 lead. The rest of the game, of course, was just us trying to get something, to get us back in the game, obviously. And of course we came close a few times. However, we will finally get that second goal, that equaliser, thanks to a brilliant volley by Amad Diallo on the edge of the box. Of course, that was a fantastic volley there, of course, by Amad, and well, that ultimately saved us a point there in that one. So overall, were United good here in this one? No, I was very disappointed actually, lads. Past 3 games we were looking so good. I thought finally we had turned a leaf. However, we were back to our same old selves in this one, of course. Lack of intensity really. We just thought, because we had 3 wins in the trap, and the Forest, we're playing per this season, we just thought we'd come into this one. We didn't have to play as high of intensity as we played against Liverpool and Brighton beforehand, and we thought we could still manage to get a result with that. And well, that definitely should prove to be a big wake-up call for the club as a whole, especially the players and management. That, of course, it does show you that the intensity levels over the past number of weeks and the quality of football over the past number of weeks have been very high. But it does show you that if those levels do drop even just slightly, then we're going to get punished, of course. And even Forest, who have been poor so far this season, they punish us because of our intensity being poor, because of us not being as good as we've been over the past number of weeks. And maybe it does sort of link in as well with the fact that Sean Dyche has came in as the new manager, of course, and now things are starting to finally start to click as each game does go on under Sean Dyche as well. So maybe a bit of a manager bounce has helped Forest as well. But overall, lads, United were not good enough in there in that one. I think a draw is a fair enough result. Of course, both sides had good chances in the game, and so overall it was a pretty even enough match here. United weren't poor but had their good moments. Forest had their good moments too, but were never really too good to win the game emphatically either, of course. And once again, it does prove as well that we are still very poor against against low block teams. I mean, coming into this one, Sean Dyche, Nottingham Forest, is a low block system. We usually struggle against those, so I was interested to see how we get on against that. And of course, once again, same thing as usual, we do struggle against these low block teams. And so once again, like, even though we have been in decent form over the past number of weeks, and even though we have managed to get a point in this one, we still do struggle against these sort of teams down the table who park the bus, play a low block, and we just can't break through them seemingly, and that still is an issue. However, that's enough rambling on for me for now. That's sort of all my brief match reaction covered. Now let's get on to my player ratings. We'll start off then in goals with Sam Lemans, who'll get a 5 here in this one. Lemans didn't really do anything too spectacular here in this one. He had a decent enough start to the match. We had to make 2 or 3 big saves early on. He did concede 2 goals here in this one too. Not really his fault there, because his defence, in those 2 minutes just completely capitulated and let him down there, of course. However, overall still conceded 2 goals. Didn't do too much spectacular stuff here in this one, and so in my opinion, the only rating really I see is fair to give Lemans is a 5 in this one. We'll go on to the back 3 then next, starting off with Luke Shaw, who'll give a 6 to. I thought Shaw was okay here in this one. I've seen Shaw play better, but here against Nottingham Forest, I thought he was okay. He was one of our better players, definitely, of course. I mean, the second half especially, when we were capitulating, when the pressure was on us to get, a result, of course, and we were losing the ball in midfield, and Forest were trying to implement some of those quick counter-attacks. He was cutting out one of those with some pretty good tackles there, of course. He helped moving the ball forward too overall. So I thought Luke Shaw played a very positive game here in this one. I thought he was definitely pretty good in making tackles, pretty good in nullifying counter-attacks by Forest, stopping them before they became anything too dangerous. And of course, I thought overall defensively he was okay here in this one. So overall here, Luke Shaw, he was okay. So Luke Shaw can get a 6 here. Not a bad performance whatsoever for Shaw here. Matthias Ligt then I'll give a 7 to. I thought that once again he had his moments here in this one for sure. Once again, he do maybe expect him to be a wee bit better. However, overall, for the most part in this one, he still was quality as always. Maybe for one of their goals, his positioning was pretty poor, and it led to Gibbs White's header, I think it might have been, and so maybe there he could have done a bit better. So I'm not sure. I think the Ligt could be just about getting a 7. He could easily get a 6 here in this one, but I thought he was okay for the most part. I thought he still was defensively sound for the majority of the match, and so here in this one, Matthias Ligt, I do believe is good enough to just about get a 7. And the finish off the back 3 then with Lenny Euro, who's going to get a 4 here in this one. I thought Lenny Euro was very poor here in this one. Of course, he was the weak link in our back 3, I do believe, giving the ball away. Lackadaisical defending, really, of course, a bit clumsy during the game as well. And so overall, I expected a lot better from the Frenchman. I thought overall he was a bit of a liability at our back line, and of course his positioning for some of their goals was pretty poor as well. He wasn't doing too good and defending those 2 Forest goals in quick succession either. So in my opinion, Euro, a couple of big mistakes in there, of course, giving the ball away, not good positioning, not really good defensively overall either. And so here, nothing, the Frenchman was pretty poor. He's going to get a 4 here, but hopefully Lenny Euro in the next games can pick it up, go again and improve from this performance. The wing backs then next, starting off with Diogo Dalot, who's also going to get a 4 here in this one. Dalot once again just looking like a complete weak link here in this one, obviously. I look back to the first half, even though we weren't really doing too much or anything at all really with the ball when we had possession, when we were trying to get up the pitch and trying to go forward, and even in the second half too, especially when Dalot's on the pitch, anytime we had the ball, anytime we were bringing it forward, the majority of that play came down the right hand side. Now maybe it's a bit more regular, we've seen that over the past number of games anyway, but anytime we had the ball on the left hand side, we just couldn't do anything with it. Why? Because Diogo Dalot kept on losing it, obviously. I mean, he has some fantastic passes by Bruno Fernandes, for example, given to him during the game, of course, crossfield passes, fantastic. However, his control is just non-existent. He can't control them. He's giving away throw-ins left, right and centre. If Dalot could actually control the ball, if he could pass the ball well too, and if he was just a decent footballer, I believe he could have definitely done it much better here in this one. Now, I'm not putting all the blame on Dalot here in this one, because obviously, as a team as a whole, we weren't good enough here. However, Dalot still, in my opinion, he could be a much better team if he was decent. However, he can't control the ball. He can't seem to do anything much right, of course, apart from turn around and pass it back, obviously, keep the ball moving. However, here in this one, Dalot looked out of his depth on that left-hand side, and so here, in my opinion, he's also going to get a 4. Once again, a very poor display from Dalot here. And alongside him then, on the other side, of course, Amad Diallo, who's going to get an 8 here in this one. He probably was a man of the match as well. Amad Diallo, from minute 1 to minute 90, he was the energetic player on the pitch for United, obviously. He had a couple of very good shots there, both in the first half and in the second half. Could have easily got at least 2 or 3 goals for himself here in this one too. However, Matt Sells did pull off a couple of big saves, and of course, as I did mention earlier on, got that crucial equaliser to make it 2 out. A fantastic volley too. Just looking at his shot taken during the match, you just had a bit of a feeling he was going to score an absolute worldie here in this one. And of course, that's exactly what he did here, and that's when the technique and that shot was fantastic. On the edge of the box, inside the D, sort of into the top corner. Really, you couldn't get much better than that, obviously, and it's fantastic to see Amad Diallo get a goal. Obviously, he hasn't scored since last season, and so I feel like he needed the goal definitely to get his confidence back up, of course, and he's got that now, which is great to see. Hopefully now that Ivorian can kick on and get better and better as the season does go on. Hopefully we see many more goals from Amad this season. But here in this one, Amad for me was our best player. A fantastic goal, of course. He was the man who saved the point here in this one for us, and so in my opinion, because of that and because of his energy and fantastic play during the entire game, he deserves an 8 and is my man of the match. We'll go to the midfield then next. We're starting off then with Casemiro, the Brazilian, who's going to get a 7 here in this one. I thought Casemiro once again here did last year have a pretty good performance. He obviously got the opening goal for us to make it 1-0, brilliant header once again, and that's now 32 goal contributions for Casemiro since he joined United, of course. I think it was 3 years ago now, and so for a CDM who's past his prime, I tell you what, like, that is pretty good going there, of course. And Casemiro, 2 goals in 2 games now, brilliant header obviously, and here in this one too, once again, like, I know we weren't too good here in this one, and in the second half too, I guess you could say our midfield did look quite open a couple of times when Forest were on the counter attack, but still I thought Casemiro was pretty good for the most part here, pretty solid, very solid first half. Second half could have been a wee bit better, however, because he did get a goal for us, because it was a very good header as well, for me Casemiro's going to get a 7 here. Overall, was I happy with Casemiro's display in this one? I would say probably yes. And alongside him then Bruno Fernandes, who's also going to get a 7 here in this one. Bruno Fernandes, in my opinion, compared to his performances over the past number of games, I thought we'd have seen a slightly improved performance from Bruno here in this one. I thought, he didn't really do anything too wrong here in this one. I thought his passing was on point here in this one, obviously, and that was epitomised with his fantastic corner. I mean, he couldn't have struck that corner any nicer for Casemiro to meet his head with the ball, obviously. So that corner was just perfect there. A perfect execution from Bruno Fernandes there. And overall here in this one too, his passing cross field, whether it was 5 yards or 50-yard pass, he was fantastic here in this one too. He was let down by players like Diogo Dalot, who just couldn't control those passes, and let them out for throw-ins too. So overall, I thought Bruno Fernandes was pretty good here in this one. And in the second half too, he had the ball sort of in the edge of the box. He decided to take a pot shot too, and actually came very close to drilling into the bottom corner, hit the post obviously. Casemiro tried to get the rebound, however Murillo's pressure would manage to divert that shot wide. And so here in this one overall, Bruno Fernandes, I thought, was much more influential in the game, and it was very good to see too. So hopefully now Bruno Fernandes starts to be a bit more consistent, because over the past number of games, I haven't really been happy with Bruno Fernandes' plays. I mean, he hasn't been too bad recently, however, he just hasn't really been too spectacular either, has he? So here in this one, like Bruno Fernandes, in my opinion, we've seen an improved performance by him. His passing was very good overall, got an assist for Casemiro's goal too, and so for me, just like Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes will also get a 7. I'm finishing off now with the front three, who overall, as the whole, the front three was pretty disappointing here in this one. We'll start off then with Matheus Cunha, who's going to get a 5 for me. I thought Cunha, was a bit disappointing here. He probably was, in my opinion, actually the best maybe of the front three. I'm not too sure, but whenever he did get the ball, I think in terms of, on the ball, I thought Cunha was the best out of the front three here in this one, because he still was very good at keeping the ball too, moving the ball as well whenever he did get the ball too, and he actually was looking pretty good in the ball overall as a whole. And I do remember one point in the first half, at the end of the first half, when he had the ball in our sort of corner, a lot of pressure on him obviously, but he managed to just get out of that with absolute ease, found Ahmad 1-2 there and got it over to the other side of the pitch. I thought it was fantastic there from Cunha, but my main issue with Cunha here in this one was he was just not getting the ball enough. Of course, he just wasn't becoming available enough here in this one. At times he probably was hiding a bit there in the front three too, and for me that was definitely drag his rating down to as low as a 5 here. But overall, when he did get the ball, when he was involved, he was looking okay. However, the issue here in this one was he just wasn't getting involved enough, and so here in this one, Matheus Cunha, I expected a bit more from him, so here in this one, Cunha will get a 5. And the same then for Bryan Mbeumo, who's also going to get a 5 here in this one. Now Bryan Mbeumo, unlike Cunha, was a lot more involved in the game obviously. However, overall intensity definitely was an issue for Mbeumo, and it was an issue for Cunha as well, sort of, as I did mention there, Cunha was sort of hiding, sort of those linked to a bit of a lack of intensity there from the Brazilian. And Mbeumo, of course too, yes, he was making himself available, yes, he was getting on the ball, yes, he was trying to run it force times, but still here in this one, his intensity was looking pretty poor. He was sort of, dropping out last second of 50-50s obviously, on the ball too. He just wasn't running much more direct as he has been over the past number of games too. He was definitely a lot more, cautious at trying to run forward too. He just wasn't looking too much threatening here in this one as he has been in the previous games. So yeah, I hope what I'm trying to say in there, of course. And Mbeumo just wasn't looking like his usual self here in this one. He was looking a bit it was looked like he just lacked intensity basically here in this one. And so here in this one, like in Bumo, he gave the ball away a good few times as well. And for me, the Cameroonian, similarly to Cunha, lacked intensity. Overall, just wasn't good enough here in this one. And so both of them, we get 5s. And to finish off them with Benjamin Sesko, he's going to get a 4 here in this one, similarly to Diogo Dalot and Lani Euro. Benjamin Sesko, overall, he was the worst of the front three, in my opinion. And how he played a full 90 minutes, I do not know, of course, because the man was just anonymous the entire game. He just wasn't getting the ball, obviously. And I mean, he had 1 or 2 shots here in this one, which he did get unlucky with, of course. However, still overall, in my opinion, Benjamin Sesko has to be doing so much more there in the box as a striker too, to cause havoc amongst the Forest defence and to help us, obviously, try to get goals, obviously, too. Because I mean, there's times when Bruno Fernandes is trying to cross the ball, of course, and yes, there's about 4 or 5 Forest players, and Benjamin Sesko is the only United player at times in the box too. But Sesko isn't doing enough to try jump in the air. He can jump really high, obviously, but he's not doing enough to try get a header off. Obviously, there's sometimes when Bruno or Dalot or someone will put in a decent cross, but there's no one in the box. Because Benjamin Sesko was about 5 or 10 yards behind where the play is, of course, too. So I thought again, Sesko also lacked intensity here in this one. He lacked pace as well. He just was too slow here in this one as well. Similarly to Cunha, he just wasn't getting involved in the game enough too. So overall, like Benjamin Sesko, he wasn't good enough here in this one. Hopefully, he just picked himself up in the next games, because I tell you what, like Benjamin Sesko just did nothing here in this one, and how he did not come off whatsoever is beyond me here. Now, strangely, Ruben Amorim only made 2 subs the entire game, and both of which were defenders. Patrick Dorgy came on for Diogo Dalot, and immediately, actually, you did see a bit of an improvement there on the left-hand side. It wasn't like an amazing improvement, but still, Patrick Dorgy, in my opinion, he made 1 or 2 fantastic scoop challenges there to prevent Forest from going on the counter-attacks. And I thought overall he didn't add too much going forward, but I thought defensively he added a lot there too. So for me, Patrick Dorgy will get a 7 here. I thought he was pretty impressed with the day. And meanwhile, for Nuzar Mazraoui to come on for Lani Euro, I'm going to have to give Nuzar Mazraoui a 1 here, lads. Now, maybe you're a bit shocked by that. However, in the limited time he had on the pitch, he barely had 20 minutes on the pitch here. But all I can remember from Nuzar Mazraoui is him trying to run the ball out of the fence with heavy touches, and of course, Forest easily dispossessed him there. It could have easily led to a Forest goal as well. I don't know what he was thinking there. And of course, then last minute of injury time, we're trying to sort of build up the possibility even of a winner. Obviously, sort of had the feeling whereby if we got the chance late on, we would score a winner there in that one. I just had that feeling it could happen there. Maybe we could have built something there in the last minute, but Nuzar Mazraoui gets the ball, and what does he do? He just passes it way up to the other end of the pitch there. Terrible pass, very highly overhead as well. And so here in this one, there's 2 moments I remember from Mazraoui's game, just not good enough whatsoever. And so here in this one, Mazraoui gets a 1. I'm sorry, lads, but the Moroccans cameo here in this one just simply was very, very poor. And we'll finish off then with Ruben Amorim, who's going to get a 4 here in this one. I thought Ruben Amorim, overall, the system, the sort of game plan he had in this one too, of course, it just wasn't good enough here. It was a bit cocky maybe too, we just sort of expected us to win against Forest here. But I mean, I didn't like the fact we lacked intensity during the match, of course. I didn't like the fact we just looked so unthreatening throughout the entire first half and in parts of the second half too. And as well as that then, I didn't like the fact he just wasn't making any subs, of course. And when he was making the limited amount of subs he did make, they were, taking off a centre-back for a centre-back. I'm not against bringing Euro off from Mazraoui. However, if you're going to make those changes on the defence too, which of course, it's fine obviously. However, you need to make subs for the forward line too, because Sesko was anonymous, Cunha was anonymous as well, and as well as that, then Mbeumo just wasn't doing enough there. Yeah, Joshua Zirkzee and Mason Mount both on the bench. Why are you not bringing at least one of those players on? Mason Mount or Joshua Zirkzee, either one of those players could have opened up the Forest defence, and who knows, maybe we could have turned that unlucky 2-2 draw into somebody winning that game, of course. You never know, of course. You never know if you don't take those chances. And so in my opinion, the attack was ineffective. We were ineffective as a whole going forward during the entire match, and so the fact we didn't make any attacking subs does bug me as well. So hearing this from Ruben Amorim, I thought overall he just got this game wrong here in this one, but hopefully now he does bounce back and we can defeat Spurs then next week before the next international break. So Ruben Amorim here in this one, simply we weren't good enough. He needs to make more subs, obviously, lads. Tactically not good enough either. So here in this one, Ruben Amorim can get a 4. Anyway, lads, I'm going to end it as Forest v United match reaction. Hope you have enjoyed it, of course. What do you think about what I've said? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. As always, lads, remember to like the video, subscribe if you're new, click the bell, and share this as many people as possible. And do the exact same then for the new Irish Red Devils page. Of course, go subscribe to that, obviously, and watch the videos. They're very good, high quality podcasts. And so then, lads, I'll see you all in the next one here on KDFG.